guys, I'm Mary. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my quarterly series wrap up, in which I'll be talking about all the series I started, finished, DNF'd, worked on in the months of July, August, and September. So at the beginning of this quarter, I started with 49 series and I ended with 45. So we love to see some progress, doing great. And I started 3 new series, finished or DNF'd 7. So that's great. This year I didn't set any kind of serious goals other than just kind of a nebulous make the number go down. And it so far, both series quarterly wrap-ups I've done, the number has decreased. Not by a lot, but it has decreased. So first, I'm going to briefly talk about the 3 series I started during this quarter. So first up was the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, and in this quarter I only read The City of Brass, and so very excited to finally start this series. I was waiting till it was finished published last year and then sat on this one for a little while after that, and definitely glad I picked it up. I've really been enjoying this. So this is kind of like a Middle Eastern ancient history inspired series about a thief in Cairo who ends up being transported to like this world of jinn, into the city of Daevabad, and gets thrown into like the politics between the different kind of jinn tribes, and it's very good so far. I haven't finished the series yet, but definitely very good and excited to continue with this one. Next, I read Bombshell by Sarah MacLean, which is the first book in her newest historical romance series, and so this is book 1 and also currently the only book published, so this is a series I am also caught up on, and it follows 4 friends who are kind of in this like girl gang, the Bombshells, that's what the series is called, and they are kind of this girl gang righting the wrongs of society as far as like men mistreating women, and they kind of like take their own revenge in a way that like the law won't or society won't. And so this was my first Sarah MacLean, and I definitely really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited for the second book to come out next year. And then the last series I started in this quarter was the Book of the Ancestor series by Mark Lawrence. I just read Sister in this quarter, and this is about a girl named Nona Gray who is taken to train at a convent who is training essentially killer nuns. Like they do train for some other things, like there's different orders of nuns, but like the main one seems to be killer nuns. And I will say I didn't like this quite as much as I had hoped, but I did still like it, and so I think I will continue with the series. This one felt like it had a lot of potential, and just none of those things came to full fruition in book 1, but it feels like they probably would in the later books, so I definitely am interested in continuing this one, but have not yet. Okay, next, I'm going to talk about the series I finished and DNF'd. So I have 5 that I actually just finished, and then 2 that I DNF'd. So the first one of the 5 I finished is the Purvi Mystery series by Sujata Massey. This is an adult kind of historical mystery series taking place in 1920s India, and our main character, Purvi Mystery, is a woman lawyer. She's kind of the first woman lawyer. She's not a full lawyer because she's not allowed to be because she's a woman, but so she kind of like helps out with her dad's practices, and she studied law. And so I really love the first 2 books in this series, and this 3rd one came out this summer. And also, as a caveat, I say I finished this series because I have not heard about a 4th one coming out, but I do not know for sure that there won't be more coming out. So this series could end up back on this list. Who knows? But I am treating it as finished until I hear otherwise. So I really love the first 2 books, but this 3rd one just let me down. Unfortunately, it was only a 3-star, and it was just okay. I really didn't like the writing in this 3rd one. I don't know if my tastes have changed since the first 2, or this one was just written differently than the first 2. But I do still overall recommend the series because I did remember really loving the first 2, and unfortunately just kind of ended on a downer note. And yeah. The next series I finished is the Green Hollow Duology by Emily Tesh. This is a 2-book series of novellas, and this series is kind of just all about the vibes. It's like this kind of Victorian feeling era, woodsy, kind of mystical fairy magic kind of vibes, and if you're into that kind of vibe, you should pick up these novellas. If that doesn't sound good to you, if you're like looking for more plot, maybe skip this one, because this is definitely a duology I recommend purely on vibes. Next was another duology I finished called the Re-Verikai series by Marie Brennan. This is also a duology of novellas, and this one was interesting, and I wish they had been full novels or there had been more stories in this world, just because I was left wanting more. We follow the main character who wakes up without any memory of her past, and she finds out she's been like summoned by these people, and she's now bound to do like a quest for them, and so the series kind of follows her as she does these quests and also tries to kind of figure out who she is. And I just like wish we had more time in this world. I wish they had been longer, but other than that, they were good. Next, I finished the Tie Child trilogy by R.J. Barker, which I talked about in my last wrap up about how much I love this series. So this series will definitely be making its appearance on my end of the year updated favorite completed series because I adore this series so much. It is a nautical fantasy, and this last book made me cry, and it's just so good. I love it. And then the last series I finished is the Ember and the Ashes trilogy by Sabaa Tahir, and this one was just okay. I liked the first one the best, and then each book kind of was a step down for me, primarily because I just really didn't like one of the main characters at all, ever, and then one of the other main characters I liked, but their storyline veered in a way I wasn't interested in, so, you know, kind of losing a second main character you don't like towards the end kind of soured it. However, one of the characters in the series is also one of my favorite YA fantasy characters of all time, so, like, there's a lot of mixed feelings towards this series. I'm definitely glad I finished it because of that one character that I loved. Next, the two series I DNF. The first is the Tearling series by Erica Johansson, and it feels weird to say I DNF this because this was originally a trilogy, and then this year she came out with a prequel book, and so I read the full trilogy a couple years ago, right, when the last one was released, like 2017 or so, and so I finished that, so I feel like I have finished the series, but when I picked up the prequel book, I did DNF that book, so it is to be taken off my series list as a DNF, but it does feel weird to say that because I did read and enjoy the original trilogy, so but yeah, I just wasn't feeling the prequel one. I don't know if it was just it'd been long enough since I'd read the original trilogy that like wasn't as attached to like finding out the backstories from the characters because I didn't fully remember them from the first ones. But like, just wasn't feeling it. It wasn't like there wasn't any particular reason it was bad. I just wasn't into it. And then the other one I DNF'd is the Raven Boys. So this was a series that I had on my list of I need to reread before I can finish because I read the first three originally but never got to the fourth book. And so I reread the first one and still liked it. I gave it probably a 4-star as like my rating upon reread. And so like I liked it, and I even had the second one out from the library. But I was like looking at it in like my little ebook app, and I was like, you know, I'm just like not feeling it. Like I just like don't feel super compelled to keep reading the series. Even though I did think the first one was good, it's just like something that was like, yeah, it's good, and I'll move on. So I think I have currently DNF'd this series. There's part of me that still wishes I could finish it because I'm just such a completionist, but move on to other things. And so then I had 4 series that I worked on, but so these were series that were on my list prior to this quarter, and I have not caught up on them, and so they're still on this list. And the first is the Invisible Library series. This is book 3. Yeah, so this is book 3. I've been reading about one of these a quarter, and I'll probably continue that trend. They're just good palate cleansers. It follows Irene, who is a librarian in this library, like capital L library, that's like this ultra-dimensional library that collects artifacts and important books from different dimensions of the world. And so each one's kind of just like an adventure in her time as a librarian. And I have the next one, so definitely will probably pick it up in this next quarter. And yeah, I've just been enjoying sticking these in as like palate cleansers every 2 or so months. The next series I worked on is the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. And so this was book 2. And again, this is one I probably think I'll pick up about once a quarter. And the first book I remember thinking was okay, but I definitely like this one a lot better. So I am definitely for sure continuing on with the series. I was a little unsure picking up this one. It was like, the first one was good enough to intrigue me, but not enough to like confirm I would finish the series. But this one I liked a lot better, so definitely gonna continue. And I just think this is like a really solid YA series with really great political intrigue so far, and I am very intrigued to continue. The next series I worked on is the Raj series by Sonali Dev. This is a series of contemporary fiction that are Jane Austen retellings. So book 1 was a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. The second one was a retelling of Persuasion. And the next one, which I think is the final one, is a retelling of Sense and Sensibility. So I read Recipe for Persuasion in this quarter, and I liked it. I don't know the story of Persuasion, so I have no idea if it was a good retelling or not, but it was like a pretty decent book. I liked it less than the first one, but I'm still interested in continuing reading that last one, even though I also don't know the story of Sense and Sensibility at all, so we'll see. And then the last series I worked on this quarter was the Graceling Realm series by Kristen Cashmore, and I read 2 books in this series. I read Graceling and Fire, both of which were rereads for me. I originally read this series when I was in like early high school, late middle school. Like this has been a long time favorite series for me. And Kristen Cashmore released a 4th book this year, so I've been rereading these in anticipation of that one. And yeah, I adored Graceling on reread. It was just as good as the first time. Amazing. So good. Probably one of the best YA fantasies I've read. I liked Fire a lot on the second reread, but I do think Fire wasn't as good the second time as I remember it being. But that to being said, I'm definitely still going to read Bitter Blue and continue because even though it wasn't as good as I remember it, it was still good, and I'm excited to finish up. And lastly, I have 3 series that I caught up on. but are still on this list because they have more installments to be published. So we're just waiting on the new installments at this point. And the first one of those is the Gilded Age Heiresses series by Harper St. George. This is an adult historical romance series, and it's probably my favorite romance series. Both this and the first one came out this year, and I adored both. I loved this book so much. It's one of my favorite romances of the year, and I cannot wait till book 3 comes out in February. I'm so excited that this author has been doing about 6 months between books instead of like full years, because we love less of a wait time. So very, very excited to get the next one, and I think I'm going to love it just as much as I loved the first two. Next, another adult historical romance series, which is The League of Extraordinary Women by Dunmore. So Portrait of Scotland came out in September, and I read it also in September, and this is probably my least favorite so far of the series, but I did enjoy it still, and I am definitely still looking forward to book 4 when it comes out next year. This one follows a group of suffragettes in England in the 1870s, I think is when it's set. 1870s, 1880s. So yeah, I definitely do recommend this if you're interested in historical romance. I do think they're fun, and yeah. And then the last series that I caught up on and I'm now awaiting the next release is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. This is Jade War Book 2, and I read this in this quarter, and I really liked it. I liked it better than Jade City, and so I really am expecting Jade Legacy to be even more of a step up, to be amazing. And I have an arc of Jade Legacy, so hopefully I'll be getting to that like pretty soon. But it comes out at the end of November, and I cannot wait to finish this trilogy, and I'm fully expecting the last book to be like a full, mind-blowing 5-star read. So that is my series wrap up for this quarter. I'm definitely excited that I pared down my list a little bit more, and excited to see what I'll be finishing up the year with as far as series. If you've read any of these series, let me know in the comments below what you thought, and I will see you in my next video.